My name's Michael Clarke. I've been a ChickFilA owner operator going on 8 years now. I originally started in Gainesville, Texas, where I operated that location for 7 years. And then I have since moved back to Georgia, where I'm originally from, and am now operating a location out here in Northwest Georgia. So I've got, family of seven, five kids, my wife. And I've been with ChickFilA as a whole for 18 years now. I was a sophomore in college when I first started, and I've been enjoying the journey ever since. So I was in Atlanta, Georgia, where I first started. And it was actually, so the backstory on that store is it was the very first freestanding building that Chick-fil-A ever built. So back in 1986, it was the first store that ever had a drive-through for Chick-fil-A. And so I got to experience being at that location. It looks pretty similar to what it did when it first opened. They had changed the parking lot a little bit. But aside from that, it was still a cool experience just to begin my journey.
And so you started just like behind the counter. You were front
Yeah.
of house, back of house. You kind of worked your way around.
Yeah, so I started as a team member up front, in front of house, as we call it, and then um, I once I transferred from the school I was attending at that point, I transferred to the University of Georgia, and that's where I started to really cut my teeth as a back of house team member, and then that's where I stepped into leadership responsibilities and became a part of the leadership team at the organization I was working for then. And that's really like where I grew to become a leader and where my just joy from Chick-fil-A really ignited. And my joy to be a leader and just the fun that I had with it. Really, Athens was my playground, so to speak, and I really learned how to develop into who I am today.
It's really cool. This is such a great topic for you and I to talk about because I mean, here we are talking about leadership, and I think that Chick Fil A has one of the best leadership programs in terms of building people up. And I'm saying that because my own son worked for you at in the Gainesville location, and I've seen what it does. So full disclosure, right? But
Right.
I've seen what it does, even to him as a teenager. You know, starting at 16 years old and growing into who he is now at 18. So I'm curious to know, since you've done the full gamut, you were in the store and now you're the operator of the store. What does leadership look like in a restaurant that serves thousands of customers every single week, or maybe even every single day?
Yeah, I think the first place it starts is we all want to be the guy or the girl that's leading, that, is the business owner, that is the one that has their name on the business card and on the, signed, sealed, delivered bottom of the paperwork type thing. Um, but ultimately, leadership starts with humility. Like, how far are you willing to go to serve those next to you, to help the team do better and to help your peers look better, knowing that you may not get full recognition for every single bit of what you're doing, but that you are contributing to the entire accomplishments that the team is wanting to achieve on a daily basis. And humility really sets the stage for the next layer of leadership, where it goes humility, and then it goes care for others, and then it goes care for self. So, are you humble enough to not take credit in moments where you absolutely are, you rightfully could, but instead you're willing to give credit to others? And then are you willing to grow yourself in maturity, in your understanding of the business, in emotional intelligence, and just in overall intelligence and wisdom? And then you're stepping into the next phase where now you have two of the attributes, humility and lifting up others, that leads to self care. So you can really boost yourself from that standpoint as well.
It's so it's pretty amazing because you're talking about having to do that for a pretty large team. Right? So
Yeah.
when you talk about humility, you're not just it's not a small group of people and you're kind of choosing to put one or two people in front of you. You talk about the scale of your team that you're working with.
Yeah. So in Gainesville, my team, I think the most we ever employed at one time was just about 100 team members and leaders alike. And so that means, humility in that sense meant, how willing am I to get to know everybody else on the team? Like, am I willing to build them up and boost them and say, hey, this was my team's accomplishments. Whether I
Yeah.
was the innovator for the idea or I was the instigator for us achieving the result, it didn't matter because my team needed to be the ones to achieve where we were going. And so was I willing to say, "Hey, I've already been recognized. I'm the business owner, but how can I step into recognizing my team for accomplishing whether it's a record for how many cars in 1 hour we serve to a business result for trying to reduce some expenses or trying to increase our productivity and our efficiency in different areas. Like, how willing was I to boost my team and equip them with the resources, knowing that the better they look, the better my business looks.
Yeah.
And so that's, I
Yeah.
mean, that involved like getting to know my team, right? Humility was, hey, I don't have to know anybody on my team except my leaders, but I knew every single one of my team members. And I wouldn't say I knew them like to the umpteenth degree, but I knew them enough to be able to speak into their life and get to know more about their personal lives from the sports they're involved in to their siblings, to, who they were dating at the time, just different things, right? Just to be connected to them. So
Oh, that's really good. What does a typical day look like for a Chick-fil-A operator who is running a store serving thousands of customers and you've got 100 employees? I mean, you're obviously super busy because I'm talking to you while you're driving. And so it is getting on your calendar has got to be pretty difficult. And so number one, I have to say I'm very thankful for you giving me this time. But yeah, I'm curious to know, what does a typical day look like?
and it's my pleasure. And I'm grateful that you reached out. I'm grateful to do this. But a typical day for me, so, like I mentioned, I have a family of 7, including myself, that I care for. And so my day has to start with them. And by has to, I mean, if I want my day to go well, then my family has to be set up well to start the day. So for me, I'm getting up before 6 a.m. and I work out, I do my devotion time, and then I make breakfast for the family and spend time with my kids. And then I jump into the restaurant. And typically I'll go in and ensure that I say hey to everybody in the restaurant. I make eye contact and just say, "Hey, Gabby, it's so great to see you today." And just go down the list of my team and come across them in their different positions. And then I jump into any tasks that I have that I need to complete for the day. I want to get those taken care of. And then if it's a regular day with no meetings, then I'll jump into the business for about 3 to 4 hours and I'll be in a position. I will cut up and joke with my team. I joke with them often saying my favorite position in the restaurant is to be in your way. Um, and to me, it helps liven the mood in the business and it helps bring the personal touch to what we're doing, because they don't see me as someone that's like intimidating or like a name that's scary, but they see someone that they can connect with and talk to and joke with and cut up with and have fun and just be relaxed. And so I do that for about 3 or 4 hours. And then after that, I jump back into any more tasks or any phone calls or anything that may have come up, emails, just administrative stuff. And then I'm typically in the restaurant until my nighttime team comes in, and I'll say hey to everyone at changeover, make sure I get to see them face to face, and just be another point of contact at that point. And then I wrap it up, head home, and I put on my dad hat, and I just get after it at home.
There you go. That's awesome. So I love that you're, like you said, you work actively to connect. You're very intentional, and so what you just described is it's all the qualities of a good leader. So at what point did you start to realize that leadership was more than running the business, the more than just being a manager? And can you maybe talk a little bit about your interpretation and transition from management to leadership?
Yeah,
It,
I mean, it goes back to, who did I connect with most back when I was learning to be a manager and a leader in the organizations I came from? And it was using examples of managers and leaders that I had above me that I respected and connected with the most. And those were the ones that were intentional, that they held accountability, and they were willing to get into the mess to make good things out of messy situations. And so, like, using past performance and past experiences helps shape it to say, hey, if that's what was most effective for me in cultivating my ability to care for the business, then how can I take that and apply that in my business to put that on team members and be that same individual for them that was the same for me as a leader back in Athens?
I was going to say that you're working to build trust, right? It seems like
100%.
finding, yeah, you're in doing that investment in them. So what kind of things do you go through to say you've got a young workforce, and there are managers at different levels, right? What do you do to facilitate them, like at each level, and where you develop trust and loyalty with that young workforce?
Yeah. So the structure for us has always been team members, team leaders, trainers, and then directors. And that's just to keep it simple. So I don't like complicated, I don't like extremely complex situations or scenarios where you have more individuals leading than you have team members being in the business operating on the day-to-day tasks. But when it came to my investment within the different leaders, uh, what I do is, so I work from the top down. So my directors, I have four of those, and those four were the main four that I invested in. And then they would then in turn invest in the team leaders who they oversaw in their different responsibilities and roles. And then the team leaders would be the ones connecting heavily with their team members to build trust, to build rapport, to hold them accountable, and to help them achieve the results we wanted to achieve. So for my directors, the first thing I do is every month I meet with them one on one and we walk through the five healths. So you have physical health, mental health, emotional, spiritual, and financial healths. And all I do is just ask them, hey, what in each of these areas do you have any goals? What does this look like for you? What goals would you like to achieve? What's your current state in these areas? And to whatever extent they're willing to trust me is what I'll jump into and appreciate. So it might be one small piece of the cookie that they give me, but I'm better because of that one piece. So I can learn them better and help them achieve wherever they want to go and understand that it's not just Chick-fil-A that they want to end up with. It's personal success in all of those areas. So I want to be a vessel or a vehicle that helps them achieve success in those five areas. So I'll meet with them monthly, one on one, and it's just a continuing cycle. So every time the calendar turns over, we connect again and we talk about the same things and see what progress is being made, see where we're challenged, see, in this case, because of my faith, we leverage that to be a point of prayer that's involved in those meetings, but it's not required. Like I don't force somebody to jump into that if they're uncomfortable. I'd simply give them the space to know we don't have to. And so we just try to build camaraderie through those five healths. And so after those one-on-ones, I then have weekly meetings where we'll have various discussions about the business, where it's all the directors will be a part of the first meeting. And we talk about their areas of ownership and what we're trying to accomplish in those areas and things that are challenging us, things we're dropping the ball on, whatever it might be. But we cover the whole gamut of the business from all areas of ownership. And then the second leadership meeting will be involved with those that are specifically involved in operations. So, front of house, back of house, drive through, that sort of thing. We'll have those leaders engaged in the business and they'll connect and share about the things that we're focused on from the business results standpoint to the guest experience standpoint to the team member standpoint, and then to food safety are those four key areas we measure with operations. And that's how we continue to develop and grow as leaders. And then as a leadership team, we meet
Yeah.
monthly. So 6 times a year, we'll have a business focused meeting where we will have a recap as to where we stand, current state, compared to where we're trying to go and achieve by the end of the year. And then the other 6 times we get together, we go have fun, top golf, bowling, escape rooms. One time we built Legos as like a cool bonding experience, just some other things like that to build relationship because these are folks that work for me, but I also work for them because they do the heavy lifting and I get to support them. And so I want to provide a resource as a space of having fun and just getting to hang out and just build a family
Yeah.
setup. So
Yeah.
those are
It's
the main ways we
that's
do it.
really Yeah, that's really it's really different and unique. You're covering all the uh leadership tactics, but you're also getting, or leadership methods, but also getting tactile or tactical rather with them, right? We're talking about the five healths, but also food safety, and getting into like the practical side of hey, you're still managing, but you have to lead through these kind of bigger, greater things, right?
Absolutely.
Um, so I think that's so very Chick-fil-A. It's known for its strong service culture for sure. And do you when you go about building this culture, I assume it starts with hiring, right? You're looking for specific personalities, and traits. Can you talk a little bit about what goes through your mind when you're going through the hiring process? And you've obviously trained, because you're not hiring every single person, right? You've trained your staff,
Right.
you've trained your directors and your leaders to recognize that. And so, can you talk real briefly just about that hiring process?
Yeah, I mean, we say hiring is one layer, so that's the team experience. We say that's connected to the guest experience, though, um, because it's not just selecting the right talent; it's then equipping them with the resources to be successful, to continue to repeat the same necessary expectations over and over again. So for us with hiring, it's we look at the individuals we're wanting to bring in, and it's a matter of characteristics and traits. How do they present themselves? Do they share a smile? Do they make eye contact? Do they exude confidence? Do they show a willingness to grow and learn? Do they share experiences about challenges in their life? And it can be little things. I don't mean like big, my parents got divorced when they were 14 type of experience or challenge. I mean, like, hey, my teacher got mad at me in class today, and this is how I handled it. Like, just something that helps us understand how they experience a challenge and what their response is from that. But we're looking at those characteristic traits. Just again, how they present themselves. Are they willing to smile? Do they make eye contact? How do they handle challenges or confrontation or adversity in their life? And then what victories do they recognize in their life that they get celebrated for? And how do they celebrate those victories? I'm saying when you look at those things, you then get to say, all right, based on these traits, there's no one trait that separates you from being able to work in the kitchen and back of house or working up front serving guests, because we're looking for people that do all of those things across the board to be a part of the whole organization.
And so this is a really good segue, because what I want to talk about next is that leadership often shows up in those small daily actions, right? And it's those small daily things, like you said, are they somebody who makes eye contact? Are they somebody who smiles? Are they somebody who can articulate how they overcome challenges? Um, so it's those small daily actions that add up to having a great customer experience. And so, is there anything that how do you balance? I guess I should ask, how do you balance performance expectations with also still caring for your employees? Because at the end of the day, there are still numbers that you have to hit. There are still goals that you're aiming for. So how do you balance those performance expectations, like dollars per hour or customers in the drive-through or whatever the case is, with still caring for your employees, like you've talked about?
Yeah, I mean, I think I have the easy role in that question because I get to just love on my team members and I get to come in and smile with them and cut up and joke and laugh. But it's my leaders that have the challenge of balancing the results piece for us because I get to heavily focus on the relationship piece with the team members. But the leaders are the ones that are tasked with upholding the expectations of what we're wanting to achieve. So we focus big on productivity, just how productive is one person being for the business and every hour. And we have a metric that we measure that through. And it's a simple one to follow based on your sales. You take that and you divide it by the number of people on the hour. And that tells you how productive each person is being for sales being brought in. And so it's a measurement number that we gauge to achieve success, but we do it with other things built in. So like the leaders aren't being asked to achieve results without already having built-in systems that make it capable to achieve those results. And so when we focus on productivity, the leaders know when they come to make schedule, they have build tos and systems in place that make it possible to achieve that success before the day even begins. All we're needing is for the day to hit the results of what we're asking in terms of sales to hit what we're forecasting. So I have it easy to love on my team. It's my leaders who are tasked with the challenge of executing the goals and upholding the standard. But because they're being cared for and loved on and appreciated and respected and celebrated, they're more willing to jump into those hard things and do them because they want to achieve the good for the team at hand and they know how much it impacts their team members and the guests as a whole. So does that
Yeah.
help answer the question?
Yeah, what I'm hearing is that it's not just about setting expectations, but you've also given them the tools to execute those expectations. And then the rest takes care of itself. And because of the amount that you invest in your leaders, I mean, you set that performance expectation there, and they're able to drive it through the business and all the way to the front of house and frontline customer facing employees.
Well, and I
That's
will say to that point, my leaders are motivated too because they get an annual bonus every year, and so when
always right.
they hit their marks, they're getting a 26th or 27th paycheck essentially. So
Yeah,
it's a very good
yeah,
thing for them to achieve.
yeah.
But
Incentivizing is such a powerful tool.
exactly. And I'll say, like, what you're asking about, so it's not an acronym that spells anything, but it's ESRC. So when you look at it, it goes expectations. Does the team and the leaders know what's expected? Okay. Do they have the skills? So have we trained them well? And then R is resources. So have we given them the tools to be successful? You know, if I'm asking them to jump 6 feet high, have I given them the tools to do that? And then C is consequence. And I think it's a word that is polarizing because we think consequence means negative, but consequence just needs to be means a word that's you're reinforcing the behaviors at hand or you're redirecting the behaviors. And so are we encouraging and reinforcing positive results? And then are we redirecting negative results to ultimately achieve positive results? So E stands for expectations, meaning does our team know what's expected? Do the leaders know what's expected? And then S stands for skills. So have we trained the team members and the leaders with the appropriate amount of skills to achieve the results we're asking them to do? And then R is resources. So have we provided all the correct tools and equipment and uniforms and supplies and product to be successful? And then consequence is what C stands for, where again, are you reinforcing the positive results and are you redirecting the negative results to achieve positive results?
That's really interesting. Do you teach that? Like, is that a Chick-fil-A university kind of thing, or is it something that is just it comes natural to you? You figured it out. Let's implement this.
Yeah, a mentor of mine. So about 9 years ago, he helped me articulate these words into something simple, like I just explained. And I wouldn't necessarily say I'm constantly using ESRC in that format, but in all of our conversations and in all of our systems, those four letters are heavily present and very easy to identify. And you'll hear those buzzwords shared by the various leaders that I've led just from everyday use of them.
It's good. I'm asking because I'm wondering if there's a copyright on it. It sounds like a really good methodology.
Yeah, no, as far as I know, there's
I'm just
not.
kidding.
If there is, then I'll be happy to follow back up and say, hey, so sorry this was copyrighted, but I have not been told that
Yeah,
it is.
no, it's all good. I think it's a fantastic um, acronym, and it's incredibly simple and also very effective. So it's good. Um, so, in terms of developing future leaders in your organization, a lot of Chick-fil-A employees grow into those leadership roles. Like I've said, my own son, his hope and dream is one day to be an operator. And so, how do you go about identifying leadership potential? What are you looking for? What experiences are you trying to encourage young employees to grow into so that they can, you know, get on that track to leadership in the store?
Yeah, I think it's a very fine line of what we look for, where we look for a great team member, but then we have to have methods for understanding are they just a good team member or do they have potential to be a good leader? Because you're looking for a lot of the same characteristics that a great team member presents every day. But the biggest thing a great team member won't present is are they willing to own all of it and how far are they willing to go? A great team member is willing to serve their friends and those they work with, but the moment things get tough, they're going to step back and step out. So, how do we identify a great team member and a great leader who comes from that crop of being a great team member? Well, it's the ones that are put in the pressure situations and are willing to say, "Hey, I don't know what I'm doing, but how can I help? Like, how can I make this better?" They're willing to take on ownership when they're not asked or expected to. And it sounds really picture perfect. Like, it sounds like it's super ideal and like, man, that must be so easy to identify. And it's not, because there's too many moments in a day where you want somebody to step up, but nobody does. So you have to weed through those moments and continue just knowing that those moments will keep coming every day, but be willing to be in the weeds with the team and identify those little moments and understand it doesn't have to be a big moment. A mom dropped their toy in the dining room. Was somebody willing to pick it up and
Yeah.
get it back to them?
Yeah.
But it is, it's
Yeah, you're right. It's somebody who notices the things. They see that maybe there's trash on the floor. There's maybe a table needs to be wiped down. There's people in the queue or something like that, and they see it and they go for it. Right? There's not always having to stop and say little pat on the back. Hey, can you go take care of this? At
right,
least that's
yeah.
my interpretation, my idea of ownership in a restaurant.
Yeah, no, I think you captured it and reverberated it right back even better than I did, so I appreciate you giving those words out there.
Yeah, that's what I'm here for. I'm here. I clarify. No, that's good. Um, so let's talk about advice for future managers. So, what closing advice do you have for either students in a management course or young students, or sorry, young professionals, young leaders, young managers? What is one leadership lesson that maybe you wish you had learned earlier?
I mean, it truly is humility. For me, I was a very let me phrase this right. I still have a lot of pride in what I do, but it doesn't mean I'm prideful to the point that I can't see past my own performance. Um, Learn humility well in terms of be willing to mess up and take ownership of your mistakes. Because while it can look like this country can tell you that's a sign of weakness, but when you look at it, the amount of people that I have respect for that did that for me when they were in roles of management or leadership, and then in turn what I've done for others, where I've been told that others appreciate me saying, "Man, I screwed up. Like that was awful. I'm so sorry. Like, can you help me make this better?" Where they appreciate being brought into the mess and being given a chance to help make it better. Learn humility well, because it can serve you for many decades to come. You can learn everything else. Like, you can learn to be a high performer and you can learn to be a high achiever and you can learn to communicate well, but learn humility because so many people respect humility in others around you.
Well, Michael, this time it was my pleasure to get to talk to you. So I'm very thankful for your time, and all the best of luck in your new store in Georgia. And we definitely miss you.
Well, Adam, I appreciate you greatly. You know, my family cares deeply about y'all, and so we do miss y'all. But truly, thank you for the time. And then to your students, best of luck to y'all. And then to your teaching, good luck.
Thanks, I appreciate it.
Pleasure. We'll see you.